And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a little bit. Welcome back to Cryptomancy. Roy here, Roy Blackstone. Joined again by the Grand Nagas, Greedy Ferengi.
Hello.
Yeah. I don't remember what we were talking about last episode. I think it was KYC or something, but it's been a while. And we're going to do a little bit of a news recap. Just talk about some of the more interesting things that happened in the last month or so since we've been away. I think it's been maybe a month and a half.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And so we have a few items on the docket we're going to talk about. If we can't get to all of them, we might do another episode later for next week. We're thinking we're going to keep this on a weekly release schedule for you guys. So, yeah, let's get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Negus, you can
go with the news then, because I've been busy.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about what should we talk about? I want to save the Craig Wright stuff until later. We can talk about. Can we talk about Ethereum for a moment?
Yes.
Okay, so no one really knows this, and I think this probably deserves its own larger episode later on. But Ethereum, just some quick news on that one. From the last time that I was keeping up with them, which was about a month ago or so, they were saying that Ethereum 2.0 was scheduled for release like right now, like literally right now. In terms of the way that they're releasing it is in several different phases. So phase 0 is going to be just the update to the beacon chain. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what the beacon chain is, it's basically the granddaddy chain that connects all of the smaller shards on the Ethereum network. And so the news is that they are going to be releasing that very, very shortly. So they didn't give us like a hard date. So when I say now, I mean like, it could be next week, could be tomorrow, could be in a month, but very, very short order.
Because basically what the beacon does is it notifies shards of updates.
Yeah.
Think of a lighthouse lamp, that flashes periodically, or flash memory updates on a PC. Yeah. So, hey, there's a patch update. Similar sort of logical function. It's not really a very good analogy, but it'll do for our purposes. One of the things that's, I think, slowing it down slightly is a change they made recently, which I saw in a podcast with Vitalik on Spotify. Can't remember the name of it. I'll dig it out if I can. Basically, one thing that was slowing things down was the frequency interval for beacons, which was set at something like, I think, 90 seconds or 2 minutes, which clearly isn't optimal. It should be quicker, because otherwise it would be difficult to scale with so many shards in operation. They have initiated a workaround, which I think is something like either constant or 6-second updates. Yeah, which is a very good, metric to have from the get-go, which is probably why beacons are slowed down a little bit in terms of the new rollout, because of that new workaround that Vitalik was talking about, which I think is a sensible move, because the beacon, for the sharding to actually work and the cross-chain functionality to actually work to in all the smaller chains, fast beacon transmission across the entire network is absolutely essential. So having a good timing metric for that from the get-go is a very, very much better option, I think. So
yeah. So the Ethereum Foundation is pretty much well known for doing delay after delay, and this is also a problem endemic to crypto itself. But do you get the impression, at least from Ethereum, like, how do you feel about it now in terms of their rollout? Because for the last few years, it's been every time that they're always 6 months away from ETH 2.0 or something, and now it's like the story has changed. It's now a lot closer. So when as a developer, you're when you say like it's 6 months away, that's one thing. But when you say it's like 6 weeks away, that's a completely different thing.
It's a case of basically the Ethereum Foundation and the team are in a unique position compared to launching new launch projects, or projects that are proceeding towards beta, because it's a live platform that is hooked into virtually everything, right? So what you've got, as apart from a new launch, which is not live, It means you've got leisure to tweak, to update, to fine tune, whatever, because the car is not moving. You see my point? It's not live. What Ethereum are trying to do with 2.0, apart from all the mathematical and code challenges of actually moving from proof of work to proof of stake, my point is the Ethereum car is moving. Yeah, it's operational. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to fix one moving car that's moving in one lane, directly related to lots of other moving cars with, their head in the bonnet while it's moving. Yeah. Right. How do you fix a car on the motorway when it's going 100 miles an hour? With great difficulty. Yeah. So it's to be appreciated. Apart from the fact that the fix they're actually initiating is horrendously complex and new issues come up every time. So the delay is understandable and excusable. And since they're getting so close now, close in terms of the fact they're discovering new things that they can do even better, like the beacon interval update recently and the block resizing and lots of other things. They want to do it properly, They don't want to basically faceplant in the first week, not when you're so close. So it makes sense to do it this way. Yeah. I'd rather have it done properly. I think everybody would.
Yeah, I think everyone's, apart from the Moon Boys.
Like double spend thing, token launch for ERC-223, replacing ERC-20 over time, because 20 is an ETH1 token. The new one will be slightly different. The fungibility between the two, there's lots of things to address, and they are being addressed. You can see them on the YouTubes. So it's good to get it done properly, and it is coming now. There's no doubt it's not going to happen. It will happen, and it will have a huge impact, I think.
Oh yeah, get your bags ready, boys. Yeah. I'm generally, it's kind of, I feel about it two ways, right? Because on one hand, just generally, I'm the kind of guy where if I say something personally, I like to deliver on that time frame. But also on the other hand, if we look at Ethereum and we look at the ecosystem, even if Ethereum 2.0 came out 3 years ago, where is the ecosystem anyway? There's no one really around it that's doing the adoption side or anything. There's not really that many companies that are taking crypto. This is something that's going to happen a long time from now. It's not. It's kind of like going back to the 1500s and giving someone a phone. It's like, okay, you have this really cool alien technology. What are you going to do with it? Well, no one else in the world uses phones. Exactly. I don't know what to do with it. I don't really know what. It's just a nice blinking rock. Oh God, is that your phone?
That was my school run alarm. I have to go and get the kids in 20 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. All right. It's just kind of, for me, I just don't really see much adoption right now. And sure, Ethereum 2.0 is going to help that a lot. I think Ethereum 2.0 is going to be the herald in many ways, just with all the functionality and ease of use and QOL that's coming. But I think it's totally fine if delays happen. And they have happened, and I think to their credit, because they've reworked so many things. I mean, the very initial Ethereum 2.0 specifications that they had years and years ago is so much different from what they have now. And just because there's been a lot more theory and a lot more work done on it, that the Ethereum 2.0 we're getting now, because it was delayed so long and because it wasn't rushed, is going to be so much more powerful than the Ethereum 2.0 we would have gotten had the team decided to just full steam ahead and let's release the first possible thing, the first idea we come up with.
Yes, well, there's a lot of theoretical boxes to explore really during that time before you could rule out certain options and rule in other ones. And that's only something you can find by actually exploring them. And these things take time.
And I think people also who are maybe in crypto who aren't really into the cutting edge of it, don't really understand how recent and how breakthrough most of this is. Like, this is a lot of science and mathematics that is being developed, on a very recent basis. We were just talking to Emanuele from Dusk Network, and he was telling me about this brand new method of using ZK snarks. And it's like, oh, well, this is completely new that no one's heard about, but this is some breakthrough information. This is a breakthrough piece of tech that maybe we can roll into Ethereum. So it's all stuff that's happening all the time, and it's always people are coming up with different implementations and things like that. And so, it's a lot of the adage that goes where, or the old adage is, as soon as you develop something, it's probably obfuscated and old, and that doubly applies in the world of crypto. So
yeah, it moves so fast. I mean, with Solidity updates, we had the 0.6 release a few weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, and that changed quite a few things with higher level functions and variables and enums and arrays and virtual and override contract commands. And it's, when I read the video updaters, the guy I worked with on my Solidity course did it was just 15 minutes just on the code update.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't even looking all of it. He said don't look at the documentation because you'll be there for a long time, because he provided a link for the documentation for 0.6 for Remix and other environments and Truffle, and it's a hefty set of PDFs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use the video, and learn how to use the code. I think it's quicker, because a lot of the stuff that was done. I mean, that's just one thing that's going on. Yeah,
right.
With Solidity, there are other things going on. I think more Viper updates are coming in for 2.0. I haven't even looked at that yet. Yep. I'm too busy learning Solidity, but yeah, there's so much going on, so much being considered. It's worthwhile to wait to get it done properly. I don't think many people appreciate how complex it is, and these things take time, as with any big complex project.
Yep. So we'll round off that piece of news with shitcoins, in my opinion. So Polkadot. And we actually have more than Polkadot. We have Polkadot that's going to be launching very, very soon this year. And I don't know exactly when they're doing it, but I think it's Q1, Q2, as well as Filecoin. So, generally, what are your thoughts on Polkadot? And I'll give my thoughts on it.
I'm ambivalent on Polkadot. I admire the vision, and I like the team, and I like all the things they're trying to accomplish. However, I think their launch dates for all these different things, are rather optimistic, and that comes not from, some of it is technical objections. Some of it is mainly project management and implementation objections, because, as somebody who was in IT project management for many years globally, whether it's hardware or software, what you have within a project is what's called milestones. Yeah, when there's a certain milestone you have to achieve. For example, Polkadot has a sidechain milestone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Polkadot also has IoT functionality milestone, asset transfer, smart contracts, with cross-chain functionality. Each one is a milestone. Now, one rule of project management is milestones require resources, whether financial or bodies. They also require time. And milestones, because human beings are involved, which are nasty, unpredictable, flawed creatures, also inevitably overrun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They also have dependencies, like future milestones depend on the previous ones being implemented. And if the first one slips, the others slip as well. There are some in parallel, but generally a lot of them are interdependent. And although it's trying to do so much, cross-chain computation, smart contract chains, data curation, Oracle chains, IoT, file storage, identity, everything. It's trying to be all things to all people, which is a great vision, and I hope they succeed. But all of it is not going to happen anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're expecting Polkadot to launch with all these things, you're going to be very disappointed, because it's not every milestone feeds into everyone else. You see what I mean? Over time.
Right.
And you will get some slippage. Every project slips. Yeah. For some reason or another. Complexity, resources, time projections were inaccurate, which is a very, very common thing, hardware or software. And that's why I think it's going to slip. It will slip. Some of the milestones will slip. Some of the milestones will be delivered on time. Some will be dropped and replaced by other milestones as they realize that, some things are not feasible or can be done better.
Yeah.
When you've got so many variables that you have to fulfill, at any one time, Some of them are going to slip. So when you say Polkadot will launch sometime this year, and the final nuts and bolts are being done, and security audits, integration of components.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the great
Let's see.
some of the analogies that we had was, so when Augur came out, everyone was really hyped that 1.0 was finally coming out, and it released, and it was completely bare bones.
Yeah, which is what I think will happen here. It'll be bare bones. You'll have the framework for, say, parachains.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll have the bare network with parachain functionality. That's it. I've got my own opinion on sidechains of parachains, which is basically, yeah, I can see the need. Yeah, but when you implement multi-chain functionality in terms of moving things to an offline sidechain, or calling it a parachain, or whatever kind of chain you may want to call it, or a meta chain, or there are multiple different terms for different projects. There are two rules that these chains cannot avoid, whether it's on or offline, is the more chains you create, there is a processing overhead, there is a storage overhead, whether it's decentralized or not, and there is a network overhead in terms of latency. Now you can distribute that with decentralized nodes, but if you want to stop it slowing down, or any one aspect of that infrastructure slowing down, the number of decentralized nodes processing all these different elements that are all linked together has to keep pace with the development. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Say, for example, launch point 1, you launch with 3,000 nodes, and it's fine, and it's fast, and everything works. But then you have, say, another stage, which is, say, cross-chain smart contracts or governance that comes next. I don't know what the project plan is. I'm just projecting here. That may work well on 3,000 nodes, but with the extra processing and network latency overhead, because more things are being done via that infrastructure, it might not. It might slow down, which is what I'm saying is the decentralized infrastructure for the processing, which are basically Polkadot nodes, yes, mm-hmm. has to keep pace with the loading and the expansion of the project. You see, because there is a cost.
Yeah.
There's a processing cost and a network overhead cost. Those two things have to keep pace.
Right.
As well as all the project milestone variables. And that is an incredibly difficult juggling act. It's going to be hard to keep them in sync. I wouldn't hold my breath, to be honest. I think they will succeed eventually. But there's definitely going to be pitfalls, and there's going to be slowdowns, and there's going to be slippage on some milestones, and those will knock on into other ones. So first stage launch will be sometime this year. It will be bare bones, yeah.
Right.
The rest, it will just happen over time, the way ETH has been doing over the next few years. Because we're talking real-world implementation here. We're not talking projections in blogs or marketing announcement. This is building things. And one thing that is a constant in IT project management, whether it's government or private, is when you project and plan, it's like stepping onto a battlefield in a way. And as we all know, the best laid battle preparations very rarely survive contact with the enemy. Mm-hmm. They change.
Right.
So that's my bullish because I like the project. Bearish because they're claiming a lot. There's a hell of a lot of things that can slip.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a lot of Cardano as well, right? So Cardano came out.
They did the same thing.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of phases too. Even Ethereum's doing this, right? Phase 0. It's not ETH 2.0. It's phase 0, right? Yeah. So it's so people thinking Polkadot's going to release and I'll be able to, chain link everything together. It's not happening. Chainlink, another
Personally,
good
side
good
chains
example.
and extra chains are a good options for some things, but for other things, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, really.
Yeah, I just think it's also another case of, just my opinion, real quick. It's so early, for the sidechain thing. It's like that's really one of those breakthrough pieces of technology and innovation that is going to be great, but at the same time, like you said earlier, you need that foundation of it. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Also, for like cross-chain cross-token fungibility, Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
converting one token to another. Side chains is not, or parachains, or whatever you want to call them, is not really the best way of doing it. It's just adding more overhead when what you're actually wanting
It's like atomic
is
swap.
something. You want something like an atomic swap,
Yeah.
which reduces overhead and increases speed. Okay, maybe they'll reach it. Maybe they'll achieve that before atomic swaps are live. True atomic swaps, yeah, in which your funds remain in your wallet. There's no central exchanges. There's no vault or storage requirement.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes through seamlessly. Even if they achieve it before, their shelf life for that functionality within Polkadot is limited because A-swaps will clean their clock. They really will in terms of speed and ease of use. So that's not really, that cross-token fungibility via the Polkadot technical spec is not really something that stands the test of time, really, because there are other options which are better, which are also coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
The IoT functionality, yeah, great. But it's trying to basically fulfill every need that we can project and see right now via technical options that we can see are viable right now. And the technical options which are available or which are possible may well and probably will change over the next 2 years.
I agree completely.
So why are you trying to tick every box now?
We sound so bearish.
You know what the options are. You don't really know what the options are. It's an admirable thing to do, but
yeah,
there could be another project in 2 years or a live A-swap platform, as a foundational aspect.
Mm-hmm.
A foundation type project, that basically fulfills that regardless of chain, that may come along in 18 months and we'll say, well, we can do it 10 times bigger and 10 times faster. So why are you with Polkadot?
Yeah.
You don't know what the future holds. It's a good idea, but let's see. Let's see. It's too early days yet, really.
Yeah.
And they've got too many boxes that they have to tick. I think they would have done well to have started a little bit less ambitious and then add later on, because now expectations are extremely high.
Yeah, especially with all the money they took in.
Exactly. When one of the things you learn as a project manager is you do not promise the customer the moon from day one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have to manage their expectations, because if you do promise the moon from day one, they want the moon on day one. And if you don't give them the moon on day one, they will basically rip your head off and take a dump down your neck. And I have been on the I'm not kidding. I have been on the receiving end of that when other projects, I've taken over other people's projects when I worked in corporate IT, and they didn't manage the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And the customer, obviously, who spent a lot of money or invested a lot of money, wants to know why not? Why did you lie to me, etc. Yeah, I don't think they've managed expectation very well.
I think you're right.
And I think that, my experience, does come to bite people severely. So that's, we'll see. I like the project, but I think they've made themselves a really big mountain to climb when they didn't actually need to.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll see. Hopefully they do well, at least for the ecosystem. So we have, we were going to talk about Craig Wright, but we actually are going to run out of time soon. So I wanted to hit one other small topic that I think people would enjoy listening to.
IOs?
Yeah, so very, very related. Something a little bit fun. I think people are going to like this one. So everyone knows who Pantera Capital is. If you're listening to this and you don't know who Pantera Capital is, they are a fund. They opened in 2017. I don't know if this was before the big bull run or during the big bull run. I believe it was before.
First quarter, I think.
Yeah. So they got to enjoy most of those big gains. So they just had an investor call about, I think, maybe a week ago or so. Very, very recent.
God, what happened?
Their performance.
It's not been good, has it?
So from the inception of Pantera, their performance to date has been 40% down.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So this is basically the leading blockchain VC. We've already had horror stories of Fortress. Fortress was the one what's his name? Brian. I forgot the guy's last name.
remember his
he
bloody
he
name.
lost something like $400 million from his investment in crypto. And now we have Pantera, who's the big VC guys who have really been leading the way in terms of, when you talk about VC and crypto, it's Pantera's definitely top five.
Joey Krug and his little friends.
Yeah, exactly. And they are down 40%. And it just makes you wonder, because I have investor friends who run family offices and things like that, and their strategy is very, very simple. They told me, look, I just take the money and I put it in Bitcoin, and I let the Bitcoin go. So when Pantera's inception, I think Bitcoin was trading at maybe like $1,000 or something, 2,000. So all they had to do was put the money in Bitcoin, but instead they put it in all these projects and all these shit coins and ICOs because they had so much money. They didn't. It's a problem of too much. So they just the project quality lowered. I'm guessing is what ended up was the issue. So they just put it everywhere, and yeah.
I did see some of the ones they put money in when I was, evaluating white papers for investors and groups, as I still do, and some of these things they invested in, my God, there was no technical due diligence at all. You could see it. You could really see it. They'd just gone on the pitch deck and not good, really not good.
Yeah.
And I think they got caught up in the euphoria, so they were having all this money thrown. They were just like, scattergun, grab everything that looks good.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, so what ended up happening is they invested in so many projects. What they did was create like a quasi index of crypto, and as we all know, everything's been down like 90%. So I guess kudos to them for only being down 40%, but also at the same time,
quite good.
yeah. Also at the same time, what are you doing, mate?
Worse.
What are you doing? Just put your money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, when you look at other ones who had a similar scattergun approach, I think, although their investors are obviously not thrilled, I think, considering what happened to other funds and who did something the same or worse, I think they've got off pretty lightly actually at 40%.
Yeah,
but that's 40% across the spread of what they've actually invested in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everything's going to be 40%. Some of it might be slightly up. Some of it might be slightly down. Some of it might be disappearing down the S bend of the toilet. I think.
I think that's happened a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So the investor satisfaction, happiness across the group is probably variable. Some people will be spitting blood. Other people will be like, meh. Some people will be like, well, yeah, actually not that bad considering. It varies.
Yeah, they have different funds as well. They have like a trading
yeah.
fund and all that. And I didn't really look into the specifics of how everything's going, but I just thought it was good for a good laugh. Just all you had to do was hold Bitcoin, mate. It's also extra funny, because they have like 25 venture capitalists, like 30 years of experience trading, doing VC, and these guys are paid like 150 grand a year. And
the thing is, VCs like to throw money. And I remember VCs from back in the .com boom when I worked at telecoms carriers before I went contracting as a project director, in more countries, mainly for hardware, some for software projects. And back in those days, in 98 and 99 .com crash, all you had to do was walk into a boardroom with a pitch deck, and a graph and a whiteboard that said, hey, launch the IPO, 20x gains. Boom. And they just say, where do I send a check? Seriously, I saw people actually do this. And I remember in 99 when it peaked with WorldCom, who I worked for at the time, and others, I thought, this is going to fall so hard. And it did. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
People basically borrowing more money on the strength of share price to actually to buy more companies and build them in, and then so on and so forth. The snowball keeps going, and they buy all these companies and invest in new companies, but they never integrated them properly. So bottom line is they don't work. I mean, at WorldCom we had the group had integrated 71 companies over 15 years. 71 companies, all in different sectors, some in the same sector. We had 11 different billing systems. Can you believe that? 11 different billing systems and sales booking systems. None of them were integrated. So all the salesmen were basically booking their sales to earn commission on all 11 systems and getting paid from each one.
That's cute.
I'm not kidding.
I like that.
Yeah, very nice for them. Not so much fun for the rest of us to do the work.
Yeah, right.
But that's not sustainable, and it's this kind of mad euphoric approach and not actually doing, the back end grunt work to make it actually work properly. That it's like a bus heading off a cliff and it just gets more and more and more momentum. All of a sudden, oh God, look down.
Yeah.
It happens. It's not just in crypto. It's happened in the tulip bubble in the 18th century and it keeps happening. It's human nature.
Can't wait for the next one. Well, on that comical note, we're going to end it for this week. We will talk next week about Craig Wright. I think that definitely deserves its own episode. We'll talk some more.
Endlessly entertaining. It needs an episode.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, it's like watching a soap, isn't it? A really bad soap, but a soap nevertheless.
Yeah, this is going to be a drama podcast, basically, when we talk about CSW. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments. If you have any topics or anything you'd like for us to talk about, leave it in the comments. We'll try and get to them next week. So, yeah, for myself and Negus, see you guys next time.
See you later.